Welcome back. Welcome back. And as promised, I mentioned in my previous video that I had a part two about Elon Musk because there was some other things that I wanted to mention. This video probably won't be as long. But when it comes to looking at why his net worth is so high, I feel like there was some other things I wanted to touch on. So, namely, I wanted to talk about another move that he made. So we talked about in the other video how he created the company Zip2 with his brother, and it was his father helped fund that, right? And so once he had that exit, he had the exit from that, sold it after about 4 years, and the exit was $22 million, and that was his first step into being a multimillionaire. Then he also had PayPal. So PayPal was sold to eBay in October 2002 for $1.5 billion in eBay stock. So within the merged company, Musk returned as CEO, and Musk's preference for Microsoft software over Unix, I guess that's how you say it, created a rift in the company and caused someone else that was there to resign. So due to resulting technological issues and lack of cohesive business model, the board ousted Musk and replaced him with the guy that left. I think his name is Thiel in 2000. So that really stuck out to me about Musk, by the way. It feels like he has always kind of been, the type of person that butts heads with people. And I guess you could say that's not always a bad thing, because sometimes you do have to stick up for yourself. You have to stick up for what you believe and what you think, and you can't back down just because other people don't agree with you. And I feel like this was kind of a pattern. This has been a pattern for Musk probably a lot of his life. He may not He may not have ever really been a popular person, is what I'm trying to say, or not popular because everybody liked him. He just, he just did what he wanted to do or what he believed in doing, and people were either with it or they weren't with it. So under Thiel, the guy that left and came back and replaced Musk, the company focused on the PayPal service and was renamed PayPal in 2001. In 2002, PayPal was acquired by eBay for the $1.5 billion in stock, of which Musk, the largest shareholder with 11.72% of shares, received $175.8 million. So I want you to catch that. So here's a situation where people didn't agree with what Musk was doing, and they ousted him, brought the other guy back. The guy changes the company, and it ends up being sold. But because even though Musk was let go, he owned 11.72% shares in the company. Even though he was gone, he got $175.8 million out of it. I think that's so significant, and that's something that people don't always think about how many people have been fired from a job, and think about how destitute they often feel. And then you see this person who gets ousted, but they still have percentage in the company, and when it's sold, they still get a payday, a much bigger payday than they got the first time when they were not ousted and they were working on it with their family. So in 2017, Musk purchased the domain X.com from PayPal for an undisclosed amount, stating that it had sentimental value. Well, I guess that's the Cancer thing again. He does have Sun and a rising sign in Cancer, so perhaps there was some sentimental value to it. So what I wanted to point out, besides those things, was due to resulting technology issues and lack of cohesive business model, they ousted Musk. Now, this was back that when he was let go, this was September 2000, he had progressed Mercury square natal Saturn. And so I talked in the other video about how I do that. I pull up a progress chart and I compare the planets and the angles from the progress chart back to the planets and angles in the birth chart, and I'm looking for a relationship between them. More than likely a major aspect like a trine, conjunction, opposition, sextile, stuff like that. So in this situation, when all of that happened and he was let go, he had progressed Mercury square natal Saturn in September 2000. So the progression was triggered by a transiting Mars around September 17th to the 19th in 2000. This would have probably triggered that firing that he had. I'm thinking it probably had a lot to do with that. All right. Then he had natal Saturn. He had his natal Saturn in his 11th house, suggesting problems that were with where he was investing. So he had challenges with influence. Mercury also was involved with it being the ruler of his 3rd house, which might suggest a significant communication breakdown. So when that happened, think Mercury and Saturn. Also, he also has Aries in his natal midheaven. He could have been more demanding about the way he wanted things done, but given that Mars is also tied to him being wealthy, I'm sure he feels like it's not something he should change about himself. And that may also the midheaven in Aries might also be part of the reason why he just doesn't really care to change his feelings about things. If he wants to do something a certain way, he does it, and it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. So then also, the second thing I want to mention, he had progressed Mars trine natal Venus this time, like the time he sold his first company with his brother, and created a windfall of money, except a bigger windfall. So that's the progressed Mars trine natal Venus. Mars rules his midheaven, as I just mentioned, and is in his 8th house. 8th house, like the 2nd house, is a money house. The 2nd house is more earned income. And I guess you could see that in this situation. His 2nd house was triggered the first time, giving the prenatal lunar eclipse and its conjunction to his solar return moon in the 2nd house. He did work. He worked 7 days a week on that company for 4 years. In this situation, given the fact that he was ousted, he wasn't working the whole time. So this windfall of money didn't necessarily come from his own work. So that would make it appropriate for the 8th house to be involved in the conversation, because even though it's a money house, this has more to do with his investments and his joint resources with other people, given that he had over 11% share in a company that the other people had a share in as well. So he was sharing these resources with them, and that's where his wealth was coming from. And that's worth mentioning, because when I look at certain people's charts, like not just Elon Musk, but also people like Warren Buffett, their charts sometimes are very, I want to say 7th, 8th house heavy. Well, not so much Elon Musk. His chart, his 7th, 8th house isn't real heavy. It's mostly Mars in the 8th house. But a person like Warren Buffett, he had quite a bit of activity in his 7th and 8th house, which explains the heavy emphasis on investing, but also on partnerships. Because remember, the 7th house not only rules marriage, it rules partnerships in general. And with, just like I said, the 8th house has to do with joint resources. That's money that you have, money and investments you have with other people. And so that tie, it kind of helps them. Basically, their charts are telling you how they're going to make their money. And I've said before, I feel like our charts always tell us how we're supposed to make money. When we don't make as much money, I think sometimes that means that we're trying to do something doesn't really fit us. But I feel like the chart always tells you the way, right? So for him, that was the way. the joint resources, joint finances with other people. It's telling you that he gains his wealth by working with other people. Not easy for him, being that he kind of wants to do things his own way. But when he does it, that's where a lot of the money is coming from. And then last but not least, I did want to talk about his progressed Mars trine natal Venus. This time, actually, I'd already covered that part. The last thing I want to talk about is progressed Jupiter sextiling his natal Pluto. So that's the Jupiter in his progress chart, sextiling Pluto in his birth chart. So Jupiter, of course, as I mentioned in the first video, is in his 5th house, and that has to do with risk and speculation. And that's also a tie, in my opinion, to entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of risk in being an entrepreneur. Starting your own business, you have to know ahead of time you're going to work really, really hard. And there's a lot of things you do have to, as I mentioned, be creative about to figure out so that you can figure out how to make the business work, how to make money. And so it is very risky and it is very speculative. And I suppose that's a big part of the entrepreneurial connection with the 5th house. So this also rules his work, suggesting risk for work that end up paying off. So this paid off for him, just being connected to that in the work capacity. And his natal Venus rules his 5th house and is in the 3rd house. So this aspect was triggered by transiting Mars around October 12th, 13th, 2002. Okay. So the biggest thing I want you to get from this is, well, first, like I said before, how you're supposed to make money is always suggested in our chart. And I highly recommend looking at the money houses in your chart, whether it's the 2nd house, 8th house, 11th house, to see what is your chart saying about how you should be making money. That's number one. And as far as when it comes to Elon Musk and his ascension to so much wealth, for him, he was supposed to work with other people. It doesn't sound like it's easy for him to work with other people, but that's what he was supposed to do, and that's what he's done. And he always has ownership in whatever it is he's doing. And in later years, we've talked a lot about business ownership. A lot of people want to be bosses and stuff. And sometimes there's a conversation about ownership. And I feel like it's even more important to continue to have that type of conversation about owning whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's books, music, any type of assets that you have, anything that you do. Try to have some type of ownership in it, because that's where the money is. When you can own things, when you can build something up and then sell it, which is a lot of what Elon did to become as wealthy as he is. And I think it helps if you have a passion for what you're doing, or you really like what you're doing, or I don't even know how to say it's passion necessarily. Anything that you're willing to work hard to do, that's something that you can make money doing. You can really like something and still not make a lot of money with it. There are things that I like that I can't make a lot of money out of. I won't say can't, but it's harder for me to make a lot of money out of it for whatever reason. It could be that I don't know as much about it, or I haven't been able to connect the dots and make it make sense for me. And so you probably found that at some point, like you try to do something, it doesn't really work out for you, but there's something that you know that is natural for you, and you have to do that. And you probably find if you do that, you connect the dots with how you can make money with that, make more money with that, things will probably be a lot easier for you. So those are the main things I got from that. I want to take some time out to do a second episode on Elon Musk to explain that. I wanted to make sure I really fleshed that out to help you guys understand how he got to where he is. I'm sure, because I don't think we talk about it a whole lot. He's just there. He's just a really wealthy person, but we don't really talk a whole lot about how he got there. So I thought it was worth exploring. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this commentary. And let me know what you think about Elon Musk and his, specifically when it comes to how he amassed his wealth. And I will see you next time. Thank you and take care.